On a recent trip to California, I had the pleasure of meeting with Tom Rehak, who in his youth was a martial artist who happened to get in several street fights. His perspective on fighting is unique because most martial artists actually have very little experience with unsanctioned bouts. So check out what he has to say. Hey everyone, this is Chris Kennedy again. Today I'm in Carmel, California, and I'm with Tom Rehak. How's it going, Tom?
I'm doing good, Chris. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again too. So the reason I wanted to meet with you is because most of the martial artists that I meet with, they teach how to fight, but honestly, most of them have literally no experience with actual fights, like actual no-holds barred street fights. But from what I understand, you've been in a few street fights.
A few, yeah. In my youth, for sure.
So do you know how many you've been in? Out of curiosity, you have like a ballpark number?
At least 30 or 40.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
A few dozen then.
Yeah,
that's pretty
for
cool.
sure.
Okay. But you were also a martial artist as well.
Yes.
When you were younger.
That's right.
What martial arts styles did you do?
I started off in Taekwondo. I did that for about 3 years, and then I got into kickboxing for about 2 more years.
Okay. What made you choose Taekwondo first?
You know, it's the street sign. It was it was Jocelyn's, and the guy at Jocelyn's, Paul Codwell, was like he was like a champion. He was like I think a U.S. Canadian champion in Taekwondo, and I liked that. And I actually knew him because he worked.
This was in Canada.
Yes, in Canada. Okay. Yeah, in Toronto, Canada. He worked a few doors down from my dad's bakery. So I just kind of talked to him. He said I should come in and check it out, and I did. And so I started going with Jocelyn's Taekwondo. It was probably the best known in the area, and that's probably why I went with it. I didn't know the difference between all the disciplines of karate. So.
Okay. Yeah, well, most people don't when they start. So
yeah.
That's kind of I was curious about that. So you do remember your instructor pretty well then?
Oh yeah, yeah. Paul and Rick Jocelyn very well. They were very tough instructors.
Yeah. Do you know if they had any street experience? Like
oh yeah. Paul definitely did. He'd be all standing there in formation, breathing, and then he'd walk up behind you and kick you in the solar plex just to see if you'd done it right.
Oh,
you know, he was just it was a tough gym, but it was well respected. Well respected, good gym.
So a lot of Taekwondo gyms, they get kind of a bad rep. You know, they giving out black belts to 12-year-olds and stuff like that. Your place is tougher, though, you say.
Yeah, because I knew it was that because when I sparred, I would, you know, I was 2 months there. I don't know if I was a white or yellow, whatever I was, and I had no problem beating guys with black belts in the same Taekwondo. Oh. And that was a matter of you're here for a month or two, you get your next belt, another month or two, you learn the katas, you learn the pinads, and okay, that's fine. Here's your belt. You know, it wasn't based on skill. Our gym was totally different. If you didn't, there was guys there who were browns, blues, greens forever because it just didn't develop to the next level. Huh. Yeah, so that's one thing I respected about it.
So what was training like at that gym? What did training consist of?
Well, we did a lot of running. We would run. Well, I lived on a mountain, so we would run through the forest to the bottom, and then we would run up the mountain. I remember the 2-knuckle push-ups.
Yeah.
And I remember all the bags had blood over them. You kept hitting the bags until your knuckles bled.
Oh, jeez.
You know, that was and that was cool. Oh, you went to school and you had scabbed knuckles and everybody stood away from you. You know what I mean? So it was interesting gym, good gym. But he was very big onto, you weren't there because you had anger management issues. You were there because you wanted to learn the martial arts. You wanted to defend yourself, but you want to learn the arts and learn the spiritual elements of it also. Jocelyn's like that. Rick Jocelyn, who owned the club. Paul Codwell was a little more, I want to teach you how to fight and beat people up. You know, so it was an interesting balance.
So, you said there was like a spiritual aspect to it, or
yeah.
What kind of training did you do for that?
Well, the PNADs and the katas, going through the moves, the thinking, the breathing, helped you better understand the form and the format of what you were doing, and then he would translate that into we defend ourselves because we need to defend ourselves. Mm-hmm. Not that I took that discipline in, but but he didn't want to produce bullies. He wanted to produce people who understood the art, the art of the sport, and were committed to it and the way of life it represented.
You said that. Well, did you get in your first fight, like real fight, like street fight, before or after you started doing Taekwondo?
Let's put it this way: I got beat up several times before I took Taekwondo. Why I took Taekwondo is because my skin color being dark, in Canada, equivalent to in the 70s, you'd call African American a nigger. Mm-hmm. In Canada, you were called a Paki if you had dark skin. So I got beat up, 1-2 dozen times just because of my skin color.
They called you a Paki?
Yeah, called me a Paki. Didn't even know who I was, but there's a Paki, let's beat him up.
Oh, wow.
So my mom said, you know, we need to stop this and you need to learn how to defend yourself.
Oh, so it was your mom's idea?
Yeah, it was my mom's idea. Yeah. She told me that. My mom's philosophy was if a guy hits you once, hit him back twice as hard. He says, don't, you know. I grew up in a street fighting mentality. I was in a steel mining town. And gangs, you were either in one gang or another. You were either a nerd or you were in a gang. So we were all in gangs. And if you're in gangs, you had to know how to fight.
Huh.
You know? So
did you get in several fights after you started doing Taekwondo as well? Like street fights, I mean?
Yeah. The real changing point was one guy said, I'm going to beat up that Paki, which was me. No reference, didn't even know me. So I would constantly hide from this guy. And he was like in grade 12 and I was in grade 9.
Oh.
And he's a big guy. And so I ducked out and would miss him. And one time I walked out of school forgetting that was the exit that he always hung out at. And he saw me and he grabbed me and he beat the crud out of me. And I just kept getting up and he'd knock me down. I'd get up and he'd knock me down. And this went on for like 15 minutes. He'd get tired of hitting me.
15 minutes?
Yeah, he was just, but I was just, I don't know, something changed that day. And at the very end, last time he beat me down and I got up, just this fury came across me. And I just swung as hard as I could with my right fist. And I hit him in the eye. And then I ran like mad. And I thought I was dead. I was sure that if I were back to the school, and I told my mom I was going to be dead and he's going to kill me. But the interesting thing was I went to school. I think I stayed away a couple of days. And then I went back. Yeah. And he was in the cafeteria and he saw me and there was this instant respect because everybody knew that this little Pakistani guy gave him a shiner. So the opposite thing happened, which was probably very negative, is he befriended me and he was a bully. So I figured I didn't fit in with anybody because of my skin color. So if he's a bully and he befriends me, that's what I need to become. So at the same time, you know, I'm thinking of martial arts and I joined the martial arts originally to defend myself. And it turned into just kind of fitting in with the bully gang mentality, which was the wrong thing to do. But at the time, I learned a lot from it, and it taught me self-confidence, which I never had. I lacked self-confidence completely before I learned to defend myself, and then people would start leaving me alone. I wasn't the guy picked on all the time. They would leave me alone, and they would say hi and show a certain amount of respect, and that grows on you. You like that.
Yeah, of course.
You know? Yeah.
Did you get any street fights after you had started doing kickboxing as well, or just after you started doing Taekwondo?
Well, as I said, the kickboxing was a natural extension because I would do Taekwondo and I would be in street fights, but I found that the reach of the legs, some of these guys with big legs could roundhouse me upside the head and I couldn't even get in, and then I'd hit guys and they didn't have enough in the arms to really do the damage, but if I gave a decent roundhouse, I could be the end of the fight. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So at that point, I got into kickboxing and really did a lot of sparring with Paul, with Rick, and with the what you'd call the black belt. So the guys who were really good at what they were doing. And more times I got beat up than not at that. But I found when I went out on the street, if there was a problem or if I was in that gang mentality, the fights were much quicker. I wasn't all beat up when I was done. You know, a few shots, you know, and that was generally the fight to kind of walk away.
So that's really the biggest question, and you kind of just answered it, is do the martial arts actually help in the streets? So it sounds like they did. It sounds like they did help you big time.
Absolutely. Most of the guys don't know how to fight. They come at you throwing their fists all over the place, and you stand back and wait for the opening and you give them a shot to the side of the head and they're down. you can just walk away. They're dazed, you know. So it really helped me. Plus, it helped me to focus and wait for the strike move. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You know, you sit back and you watch, and you let the guy get worn out, and when he's completely worn out, then you do what you got to do and get out of there. You know, I didn't love fighting, but I knew I had to fight in order to maintain a certain amount of respect at the school and in the community in which I lived.
I see. That's good to know. There's a lot of like tough guys out there who call themselves street fighters, but it's good to know the martial arts really do help.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Did you ever do any like sanctioned bouts, like Taekwondo tournaments or kickboxing bouts, anything like that?
I did some of that in the first 2 years.
Just the beginning.
Yeah, the problem I had is, as you know, in those bouts when you're learning, it's everything below the neck, right?
Right.
I'd get upset in the bout and I nail the guy in the head.
Oh,
I'd always get out. So I figured, well, it didn't work too well for me. I don't know, you get all excited about that. It's hard to stay focused to below the neck in certain spots of the body, you know. What I found out in the gang fighting, applying the Taekwondo and that, it's not all the brilliant moves, it's just finding the strike zone at the right time. And some people call it dirty, you know what I mean? You give a nice groin shot, a real hard groin shot, and the guy goes down and they figure out it's dirty fighting. And to me, it was how quick can you get the fight over with? You know, so when it comes to street fighting is, let's shorten this down to a limited amount of time, and you really don't want a bruise when you leave. If you have a bruise when you left, it means he got a piece of you and you never really won. So you try to keep it short and whatever it took to bring him down. That's what I found anyways.
Interesting. So martial arts obviously helped you out a lot. Do you think martial arts could help make a fighter successful regardless of their age or gender or size?
I think that martial arts can help anybody regardless of size, gender, or mentality if they're disciplined enough to grow through the training. I kind of poo-hooed the training at first, and then when I went through the repeated training, I could see how that improved me. And there's the whole psychological aspect, which I think is always overlooked. It teaches you patience. It teaches you how to deal with real negative and even violent situations without losing your temper and doing stupid things. You can stay very controlled in the fight, in the environment. Whereas before, fists are just flying, nobody's out of control, everybody's out of control, and some stupid things can happen. But I've always felt that I was far more in control in those fights because I had learned the martial arts and I had the discipline of patience and standing back and kind of assessing what type of fighter he was before you actually get into it.
So, if there was like a girl, like a skinny little girl, for example, you think the martial arts would still be able to, she'd be able to still like hold her own against like a bigger dude, you think? Like in a street scenario?
Yeah, again in the street scenario, you've got to do what you can. So if it's a little girl, I don't know how much is martial arts, but she'll do things that don't take sheer foot-pounds of force like your fists or your legs to cause damage and really just divert the guy to leave her alone. Is she going to lay him out cold? Probably not. You know.
So you said there were a lot of gangs, like where you were.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you witnessed a lot of fights too.
Yeah.
Did you ever witness fights like that, like a smaller dude beat up a big dude?
Yeah, in fact, that happened to me. I was
a big dude?
No, I was a big dude. This guy was like 80 pounds wet, and it was a reverse scenario of what happened to me. And he had some martial arts experience. I could tell by the way he fought. But we were in a bar, and there was some cute girl beside him, so I picked him up, threw him out of his seat to sit beside this cute girl, and he basically wasn't going to tolerate that. So I drove the guy. He was like out cold. I sat back down and got back up, nailed him again, and this went on until I couldn't lift my arms anymore. I was so exhausted from hitting this guy to the ground.
Wow.
And then he beat me within an inch of my life. I had nothing left in me, and he just waited for that. And then I learned a very, very valuable lesson. It has nothing to do with size. It has everything to do with resilience, patience, and timing. He just waited, you know. And so I learned a lot from that one particular fight, to respect all sizes, all creeds, all kinds, all cultures of people, because you don't know. You think you're tough, but there's always somebody tougher out there. You know.
Huh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's an
interesting
interesting lesson.
So a lot of martial arts teach their fighters, and I don't necessarily buy this. That's why I'm asking about it. They teach their fighters how to defend against like a knife attack or a pistol or something like that. Did you ever see fights go down where somebody pulled out a knife or something like that? And do you think martial arts would help in that kind of situation?
They could help in some blocking moves, but ultimately if he knows how to use a knife. If he doesn't know how to use a knife, you can knock it out and then get back to the one-on-one hand combat. But if he knows how to use the knife, I would stay away from it. My dad always taught me, he said, you know, when I was really into the kickboxing and the street fighting, he said, someday, son, you're going to come up a guy with a gun. And he says, you can't defend yourself from a guy with a gun who knows what he's doing. And interesting enough, about 2 weeks went by, and I didn't go to one of the parties that my gang went to. And two of my buddies who I know well, they got totally smashed and fought over something stupid, and the one buddy pulled out a gun and shot the other one to death. And I thought, whoa, wow, this is a wake-up call. And I, at that point, immediately cut off the gang mentality environment, because my dad was right, someday I'd end up there. And I saw very real, it was a dead end. So one buddy's dead, the other buddy's in jail for life over some stupid fight because they had guns, and their whole mentality was you fight your way out of a problem. And that's the one thing that Taekwondo or the martial arts really teaches you, is fighting is a last resort. Try to talk it out, walk it out, whatever. These are things I learned from there. And if there's no other recourse, then defend yourself. And if you have to be, defend yourself to the point that you got to inflict damage, that's what you got to do. It was always taught to me that it's not a proactive thing. You don't go out looking for a fight, but you know how to defend yourself before it comes your way. So that's probably the greatest lesson I learned from Taekwondo.
Okay. Another big question that a lot of people have, especially a lot of contemporary fighters, is about the forms. So I do mostly Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. We don't have any forms in there. But this last month that I've been doing Taekwondo, lots of forms.
Yes.
Did you find the forms helpful at all in a fighting scenario? Do you feel like they helped your fighting?
Absolutely. I think it was P9 1 or Cutter 2. We slide through for the groin shot, because you're doing, right? So you did the P9s and the cutters, right?
Yeah.
And you do them again and again and again and again until you actually feel it and it becomes a part of you. So when a guy goes to kick you, you don't even think, it flows. The block flows. You know what I mean?
Does work.
Oh, absolutely. Huh. I've been able to block the roundhouses, the groin kicks, all kinds of stuff. Just because of that, it just seemed to, when I needed it, it was there. And if I hadn't practiced it in a long time, I could get nailed thinking, and then I go back and start practicing those particular. I don't know what you would call them, forms.
Yeah, forms.
Forms or formats, and it would feel more fluid. And I was more comfortable in the fight when they were fresh. When I had, I would always do those before the fight, and I find that they would come into play when I was fighting. Yeah, because of second nature.
The guy I was working with called them pumse.
Well, we call them P-nans and katas. Okay. Kata 1, 2, 3, up to 7, and then your P-nans. And you have to learn 1 or 2 P-nans, 1 or 2 katas per belt.
Oh, okay.
But that doesn't mean you graduated. It just means you knew them and you had to execute them very well.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Another big question that a lot of people have. So they came up with a few studies a few years back saying that most fights went to the ground. But the study was based mostly on like police fights, and the cops were trying to take people to the ground. So you, having trained primarily stand-up martial arts, did you find that the fights, like, what was your experience with fights ending up on the ground, kind of turning into like little wrestling matches on the street?
That would happen, but again, I was conscious of the fact that I had nothing in my arms. If the guy pulls me in close, there's a good chance I'm going to lose. If I keep my distance and I keep knocking him down with my feet, there's a high probability I was going to win the fight. So I did all I could to get away from somebody, especially if he's bigger than you, then size does matter. If he's bigger than you, he can just squeeze and tug, and if he pulls you into himself, you ain't got much strike zone there. So I would try to always stay away. So even if he grabbed me, I'd pull away, get my distance, assess it, and then, like I said, come in with a kick wherever I found an open opportunity, and then pull back again. Yeah, I would say most of my fights we kept our distance.
Okay.
At the very end, if the fight lasted a long time, we inevitably ended up on the ground.
Okay.
But it was kind of nobody won at that point.
Oh, okay.
You know.
But if you wanted to stay standing, generally you would then, huh? That's
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a true win. If you stay standing and the guy's down, then you've won.
Oh.
If you're both crawling around on the ground, you're both all cut up and beat up from the fight, then you both had an interesting bout, but you both kind of lost.
That's true. That's a good point.
There's nobody there calling points.
Of course.
Right? So yeah.
Of course. So comparing the kickboxing to the Taekwondo, which one did you find more helpful for the street fighting?
Ultimately, I think Taekwondo helped me in levels, like I said, of confidence, of form, of studying my opponent. All kickboxing did was allow me to use my greatest strength to my greatest advantage. So Taekwondo was 80% of it, kickboxing was the last 20%.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
That's about it. I guess lastly, do you have any suggestions or any words of wisdom for anyone out there who might be interested in martial arts for more of a self-defense, for more self-defense reasons rather than for sport or fitness or whatever like some people do?
Well, I think self-defense is still primarily the number one reason that most people should take martial arts and apply them in their life. Again, the confidence it gives you that you can defend yourself. Fathers for their wives and children, mothers to defend their children, you know. Guys think they can just overpower a woman. If she has some martial arts, you know, a guy gets smacked once or twice by a woman who's got some idea with martial arts, and it's not an easy prey anymore. He's gonna probably back off. You know, so I think that makes all the difference in the world. With me, like I said, with my skin color and all the fighting that caused me at the beginning, martial arts, particularly Taekwondo, taught me how to defend myself and respect others. Respect is a key element, I think, of all the martial arts, that you have the necessary respect for others and for the pain that you can inflict in others.
Awesome. Hey, Tom, thanks big time.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Great meeting with you again.
Thanks, Chris. Good to see you again, man. Thanks. Bye.